Finally got my hands on a pie maker. This has been out of stock in my local Kmart store for a couple of months now. I even put my name down on the wait list to get an email when they arrived. Anyway, I noticed they'd come in store and I've got one now. Today's video is 3 dinner options and a dessert. I hope you like it. There's going to be plenty more coming. The first meal was beef burritos. Now the crunch from these tortillas being toasted rather than just wrapped together was delicious. These are the items I used, and I first started off by chopping up the onion until it was in fine pieces. If I did my time again, I would have chopped it even finer. Once it was all chopped, then I put it in a frying pan with a little bit of oil down the bottom and then added in the mince until the mince was brown and the onion was cooked, not crunchy. Then I just used some Mexican seasoning that I bought from Coles for $1.25 and then added in a cup of water. I mixed that all together so that all the meat was covered and then allowed that to simmer for a few minutes or until all the water was gone. Then using a pack of 10 tortillas, I used the Pie Maker cutter that came with it. Using the base part, I just put the tortilla on top and spun it around. I didn't bother getting too precise. I mean, I could have flipped it over and used a knife to cut around to get it exact. It didn't matter. I went back to the stove, mixed the mince, and then I added in some corn after I'd rinsed it. And then I mixed that all together. I don't normally put corn in my burritos, but it was delicious. It was really good. I'll definitely do that again. It's just an easy way to get more vegetables into our diet. Then I put the tortillas into the pie maker. The pie maker's cold. It's not even plugged in yet. Then at the bottom I put in these refried beans and just coated the bottom of each tortilla until it was covered. We don't normally have refried beans, and to be honest, I found it really salty. So salty that looking at the ingredients on the back, which says pinto beans and pink beans and otherwise water and salt, I think next time we're going to have a go at just making it ourselves, just squashing some beans. Then I spooned in the minced corn and onion mixture, and the weight of it pushed the tortillas down into the pie holders more. Then I grabbed this chunky salsa from our freezer and just scooped a bit of that on each one. Then I covered each one with some light tasty cheese. Then using my scrap pieces of tortilla, I just layered them on top. Then I plugged it in, turned on the pie maker and set it for 6 minutes, just enough for the cheese to melt. Then I scooped it out with a spatula and we ate it like this. We didn't actually bother putting any lettuce or anything. Next time we'd do lettuce, avocado, and if we had visitors, we'd do sour cream. Next we're having these chicken Kievs. These were delicious and so inexpensive compared to the $5 butcher chicken Kievs. And I like how I can limit how much salt we put in it. So first off, what I'm doing here is I'm measuring 75 grams of butter. Ideally, if I had have had this a bit softer, it would have been easier to work with. Then I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of crushed garlic. Then 3 shakes of this roast vegetable seasoning. I love this seasoning on our roast vegetables, so I thought it would be really nice in the Kiev. And then a sprinkle of parsley leaves. And then what I did is mix it all together, and this is where I discovered that the butter was probably just a bit too hard, so I got a bit of a workout doing it. Next time I'd get the butter out earlier and just sit it on the bench for a bit before trying to make the garlic butter. Then using some cling wrap, I put that on the bench and then put the butter in it. Now it's really important to freeze the butter for at least 30 minutes minimum, because otherwise it's going to leak out straight away from your chicken Kiev balls. So it's important that it's frozen so it stays in the center of the chicken Kiev. So I tried to get this nice and long and thin because I'm going to be cutting it into 8 discs. A little excess garlic juice there. Next I'm going to do the breadcrumbs. It's a cup of breadcrumbs to 2 tablespoons of oil. I couldn't find our tablespoon measurement, so I'm using the half tablespoon. That's why I'm doing 4. Then I mixed that all together and set it aside. Then I'm using some chicken breast mince. This is the first time I've ever used chicken mince actually. So I put that into the bowl and then cracked an egg in and mixed it all together. I didn't add any other seasoning here. A few of the different recipes I had a look at, people were adding more salt and pepper. I didn't want to, I just left it like this. Once it was all combined, then I put some gloves on because I've got a toddler, so I just didn't want to have chicken on my hands if I needed to leave what I was doing to go help them out. So here I am making 8 balls. They started off really small and got bigger as I went, I must admit. They don't need to be perfect here, and then I put them in the fridge. I always love to have potato with my chicken Kievs so that the garlic butter can ooze all over the potato. So here I am cutting the skin off a sweet potato before chopping it up into small pieces and putting it in a pot on the stove. And I added in 3 cobs of corn as well. So then after 30 minutes I went and removed the garlic butter, chopped it into 8 slices, squashed down one of those balls, put it in the middle and then wrapped it around. It's really important to try and get the butter as central as possible before putting it into the breadcrumbs until it was completely covered, and then putting it into the pie maker. And then I continued that same process for the 4 of them. And turning it on. Then 5 minutes were put on the clock, and then I continued to do the rest of the other balls. Since I've filmed this video, we've had chicken Kievs again because the chicken mince was on special if you bought 2. Some things we're going to do differently next time: get the garlic butter done earlier in the day so that it's done and ready to go. And I'd even think of doing the chicken balls earlier in the day, cover with Glad wrap and put it in the fridge. So just before we're about to eat, getting it out and combining it all together. So after 5 minutes, I turned each Kiev over and went another 5 minutes. The first time I did this, I think garlic butter came out of 1, but the second time I did it, garlic butter came out of 3 of them. So then when we're actually eating it, it was a lot drier. The first ones were definitely better. We'll definitely be having this again. It's such a budget-friendly way to have chicken Kievs for the family. The first time we had it, we ate all 8 balls in one meal, but the next time we had it, we just ate 5. Dave and I had 2, and our daughter had 1. Great sizes for kids. Our next meal is zucchini slice. I often do this in the oven, but personally from now on I'll be doing it in the pie maker because I prefer the sizes and the surrounding crunch that you get from doing it in the pie maker rather than doing it in the oven, where I often found the center was always a bit more gooey than the outsides. So starting off, what I'm doing is chopping up 1 onion and then 3 pieces of bacon, just chopping them up into tiny pieces before putting them aside. Then I'm breaking up 5 eggs, putting them into a bowl before mixing it all together with a fork till it's completely combined. The egg and the yolk are as one. So giving it a really good whisk with a fork. Then I sifted 1 1/4 cups of self-raising flour into the egg mixture. I'm using a Tupperware sifter that we were given as an engagement present. Then I like to mix that all together before adding in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Then I'm adding in the bacon, onion, 1 cup of light tasty cheese before grating 1 carrot, and then I was going to do 3 zucchinis. I've got 3 zucchinis there, but I thought I had enough after 2, so I'm just grating 2 zucchinis. And this is what takes the time, grating these. Then I mixed it all together and using a spoon put it into the pie holes, and I just filled it to the top. I didn't overfill these ones. Then I put them on for 8 minutes, and like I do with the donuts, the last 2 minutes I turn them over. And there they are, that's how they look, a delicious lunch option. Then I spoon them out and then keep repeating this process. All up, I ended up with 16 zucchini slices, and it was still quicker than putting it in the oven, waiting for the oven to preheat and then cook it. So I'll definitely be doing it again in the pie maker, and they're great for lunches. And lastly, our dessert we're sharing is Portuguese Tarts, and Dave's making this. So those are the ingredients that he's using. In a bowl, he's putting 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of caster sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste. This is a real deal vanilla paste. Mixing that together before using half an orange zest and 120 grams of creme fraiche, and then mixing that all together, setting it aside before covering the puff pastry with cinnamon till it's completely covered. He had to wait until this had thawed. Then he rolled it completely up before cutting it in half down the middle and each half in half again. Then squashing each one down, putting it in the pie maker and fanning them out. So it's kind of like a bowl. Then he was going to cook that for 8 to 10 minutes. He ended up going with 10 minutes. Then he added in the custard mixture before doing another 10 minutes. Then he took those 4 out and repeated the same for the next 4. When that was starting to happen, over in a pan, he put 5 tablespoons of caster sugar, 1 orange squeezed in, and he stirred that for a minute or so to caramelize before pouring onto the Portuguese tarts. Now this was delicious. Very sugary, but it's a recipe that would have been quicker to do in the oven. But if we were just going to do 4 next time, it'd be a great one to do in the pie maker. Thanks heaps for watching. Bye!